Sometimes in boating, things get just a little bit out of hand, and you never really know when these situations are going to pop up. Sometimes it might be just a simple task, but the next thing you know, that task slaps you in the face, and of course, things are out of hand, and today we're going to explore that. Those situations where things get a little out of control in boating. Now, some are more extreme than others. I mean, obviously, as we've seen already so far, dropping a fish in the water is not a big deal, but misjudging a turn on a boat is a huge deal, and can leave you in the drink. Speaking of being in the drink, what better way to have a drink than in your own Drain Plug Mafia tumbler? That's right, you can't buy these things anywhere, but today we're going to give one away. Really simple, all you got to do, hit the like button now, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and leave a comment below, and we're going to pick a comment and somebody will win a tumbler. Now, as we mentioned a little earlier, there are many ways things can get out of hand in boating, and one of the quickest ways things can get out of hand is when your buddy asks if he can drive the boat. You know your friend already, you probably know better whether or not he should be behind the helm. Speaking of being behind the helm, this is another situation where things get out of hand quickly, and that's when people go out there and ignore the rules out on the water. Yes, the channel markers are there for a reason. More than likely, if you decide you're going to cut inside a channel marker, you're going to wind up on the ground like this crew does here. Speaking of being grounded, this is a pretty common situation in boating, and people can find themselves grounded for lots of different reasons, but one of the main reasons I find it happening is people not understanding the signs and markers on their local waterways. It happens all too often where somebody gets out there on the water, thinks they're just going to drive the boat around and have a good time. All of a sudden they see a marker or a sign of some kind and don't understand what it really means, and the next thing they know, they wind up high and dry. And speaking of not understanding things, that'll bring us to the next situation, which is not understanding the rules out on the water. Far too often we see situations like this, where somebody's blowing straight through a no-wake zone. Now, most of the time when I see this, I want to say it's not because somebody's intentionally trying to break the law. Most of the time, I feel like it's because somebody doesn't know the rules out on the water. They don't understand that they're in a no-wake zone. So before you get out there in the water, always double check your local rules, because many times no-wake zones aren't even listed. For example, many states have instituted no-wake zones if you're within a certain amount of feet of a moored vessel, a dock, or the shore. So all of a sudden, even though there's no no-wake sign listed, if you're within a certain amount of feet of one of those items, you're actually considered to be in a no-wake zone. The next item we'll talk about is going to be anchoring and mooring a vessel. This is one way things can get out of hand quickly as well. Anchoring and mooring is a difficult job because winds and currents change all the time. So if you're leaving a vessel anywhere for long periods of time, you're definitely going to want to make sure to double and triple check everything before you just leave it on an anchor or mooring, because you never know when you're going to show up and it's not where you left it. And one of the last situations we'll talk about today is when things really go wrong on the water. Understanding what to do when you really truly find yourself in a situation where things have gotten out of control. The first thing you need to do in this situation is try and assess your danger level. Are you actually in danger, or are you just in trouble? For example, maybe you're out on a yacht and you wake up to something like this. You're in trouble. You need to call authorities immediately to get help on the way. If you just have a broke down motor, you probably don't need to call the Coast Guard. You just need to try and get a hold of your local tow company so somebody can come out and assist you with a tow. One of the reasons you want to try and determine this fast is the last thing you want to do is call the Coast Guard if you're in a non-life-threatening situation and pull those assets away from somebody who might need that in a life-threatening situation. Now, once you've evaluated and assessed your situation and what your level of danger is, and you've made the call to the proper authorities to come help you out, you want to try and evaluate your situation after that. For example, if it's just a broke down motor, you might not be doing anything other than possibly dropping an anchor and maintaining contact with the tow company. But if you're in a situation like this where water is coming in the vessel, you're going to want to try and work on depumping the water and definitely determining the cause of why the water is coming in. I mean, in some situations, it could be something as simple as stuffing a rag in a scupper where the line has come off of that could save your vessel while you're sitting there waiting for help. And speaking of waiting for help, that's the next situation we'll talk about, and that's when other people need help out on the water.
Kayak went down it. Literally, probably, I don't know, probably 2.5 miles of road.
As a boater out on the water, it's our responsibility to try and lend a hand when we safely can when we see somebody in need of help. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know when you might see your stories over here. Just like Captain Zach Fry, Captain Merrick, Odyssey Water Sports, Michael G177, Old Hat Fishing, Arturgeon772, Trawler Tom, and Barely Standard Racing did this week. And if you haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.